What's going on, everyone? So, I just finished the Redick press conference. Wanted to kind of break down a few things, go over a few things. One, right out the gate, I really liked his press conference. I thought he came out, I thought he looked confident, he had the charisma, he was talking his talk, dropped an F bomb, but it wasn't just like random, like this is great, right? Like, no, like basically was like, I don't care about anything other than coaching the Lakers, right? Like, I thought he answered every question, calculated, right? I loved this press conference from Redick. I think just going off of the press conference that we are in good hands. However, Darvin Ham had a solid press conference. I actually think there's not very many press conferences that were better than this one, but Darvin Ham had a lot of the same things, right? Darvin Ham conducted himself well. He looked confident, right? He was, attacking questions head on, and seemed to have that confidence, and obviously it didn't translate. But the thing that I liked about JJ compared to like Darvin Ham and kind of like the similarities of just the way that they carried themselves is JJ has this swagger, this hunger, right? Like Darvin Ham, like I said, I thought he handled himself well, but it was more like a salesman almost, right? It's almost like a guy that's like trying to, sell himself. And like JJ was just no apologies. Like, hey, like he started off with like, I know I don't have head coaching experience, right? Like, I get it. He talked about how he's heard all the noise, right? He understands the standard. He understands what's expected. He understands these things. Took accountability in certain areas. Like he knows and gets it. And he just carried himself, I thought, the way that we really need. Right? Think of all the coaches we've had during this cycle. The last like 5 coaches. Like none of them have this like FU attitude. Right? I think and believe the Lakers really need that. Now, again, doesn't always translate. That doesn't necessarily mean that JJ Redick's going to be an incredible best head coach ever, but I do think that is a positive direction. I think that is a positive step. Big things that they talked about was, building out the culture, developing players, right? They want to create a system and a structure, an infrastructure, right? They don't want this recycling. And Rob Pelinka even talked about how the new CBA really hinders certain things that you can do, right? And that there is this need for, you got to kind of change. And this seems to be the signal of a new era, of a new direction, of a new place for the Lakers. And I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see the Lakers start really rounding out guys and, building out the coaching staff. And look, JJ, he understands that he's going to have learning curves and that he's not going to be perfect. I mean, he even talked about how, like, I won't be perfect, right? And I need to learn and I need to kind of understand, and, how he's basically a sponge. It's willing to absorb and take everything in. And, and he agrees that they need to build a coaching staff that can help guide him, right? That they want an experienced coaching staff so he's not just left out there to dry, right? And JJ's even aware. I mean, he even talked about the Dan Hurley situation. I loved it. Like he said, like, I didn't hold any hard feelings. I didn't hold any ill will, right? Because they asked, because there were the reports that, oh, JJ's upset and blah, blah, blah. He was like, no. He's like, Dan Hurley is a 2-time, back-to-back national champion head coach. He's like, Rob called me as soon as Dan Hurley became available. It was like, hey, dude, like, just so you know. And he's like, I completely understood. He's like, I'm a guy with no coaching experience, and you have an opportunity to hire a guy that's a 2-time back-to-back national champion. Like, he's like, that's a no-brainer, right? Like, those kind of things. Like, he's very self-aware, right? He understands. Like he said, I wanted to coach the Lakers. He said, that's why I didn't, like, I did the interview with Charlotte, and Coach K, got wind of it and told the Lakers, and then we had that dialogue. And he's like, from the jump, like, I wanted to coach the Lakers. And I talked about this on the journey, right? Because we got the reports that, like, oh, he doesn't want the circus, and he doesn't want this, and he doesn't want that. And I said, like, how dumb do you think JJ is? You think he doesn't understand the situation and the circumstances and just like what comes with being the Lakers head coach? Of course he does. Of course he does. And he even said that, like, I get it. He said, I know what the expectations are. He's ready for the challenge. He wants to be that guy. And I love that. Like, there's no, like, oh, we'll see how it goes. No, hey, we gotta put this together. But he acknowledged, like, we have to build a roster. We have to have a system. We have to, he talked about how it's not just him. It has to be everybody. And he's right. I mean, again, players play the games. You could have the best preparation. You could have the best coach. You could have the best everything. But if you don't have the talent, if you don't have the proper buy-in, right? That's what, JJ even talked about. He said, I can put together whatever you want. If the players don't buy in, if I lose the players, then it means nothing, right? So, and that's something that I talked about, with Darvin Ham and all that stuff, right? Like, and he talked and highlighted various players and various keys. But a couple other things that I really liked. So, again, accountability as a head coach. He understands the expectations. That Lakers are building a culture and foundation, the new era. He wants a competitive culture, right? He wants a culture that embraces challenges and, is a culture that is basically setting the standard, setting the tone. And I like that, right? Like, you don't want to be Heat culture. You don't want to be these cultures. You want to be Lakers culture. You want the Lakers standard, right? Lakers standard is here. Lakers standard is higher than every other standard in the NBA. And you need to operate accordingly. You need to have that same culture as you do your standard. And I think that this is a step, again, in the right direction for that. He talked about heavily he wants to grow around the margins. Offensive rebounds. He talked about it and broke down, and he had the numbers. Again, this guy's maniacal. This guy is somebody that he's a student of the sport. He's somebody that is psychotic when it comes to just the game itself. And I love that. And you can see that in this thing. And he talked about Lakers 29th in offensive rebound. We need to improve on the offensive rebounds. We need to improve on the three-point shooting. The percentage is one thing, but we're not taking enough threes. You gotta have shooters. You gotta have guys that are capable of knocking it down. He talked about how he wants to utilize Anthony Davis, right? And he talked about that, like compared to these other centers, the way that they're utilized, he didn't believe that Anthony Davis was utilized in that way, and that he has another seat, like he can go even higher and needs to be more of a focal point, and he said, we'll break down the scheme stuff like that later on. He's like, I got to establish everything, but I do, like, Anthony Davis does appear to be somebody that can, if you properly, how many times have we seen Anthony Davis have 30 through three quarters and he doesn't even touch the basketball in the fourth? Like, that's ridiculous, right? Like, in a lot of ways, that's on the coach to recognize that and make that adjustment and make sure that that doesn't happen. JJ seems to be a guy that wants to do that. Right? JJ seems to be a guy that wants to really focus on Anthony Davis and elevate him. But that also sounds like Anthony Davis is going to be the 5, right? Which, again, I know people aren't going to be happy about that, but LeBron at this stage is a 4. He's the 4. It's best for him and his body and the wear and tear. So chances are, even if the Lakers get another big man, which they're looking for another big man, whether it's through the draft or through trades or whatever, LeBron's probably going to be your starting 4. AD's probably going to be your starting 5. I just want to let people know, just based on like what Rob said, based on what JJ said. Again, everyone kind of acknowledges that, like, hey, AD's going to be the 5. Once LeBron leaves, maybe that changes. But as long as LeBron's on this team, that's more likely than not what's going to happen. And he also talked about he wants to make sure that they cut down on turnovers. Again, all the marginal stuff, all the little things that can translate to this team losing games and not having success. He talked about maximizing players, right? And that is something that I talked about heavily this past season with Darvin Ham. The lack of properly maximizing and the lack of proper utilization and understanding of your players, right? Like, not like the 3 guys that I highlighted the most this season were Rui Hachimura, Spencer Dinwiddie when we got him, and Christian Wood. The way that those 3 guys in particular, and you can make an argument for D'Lo, you can make an argument for Reeves, like everybody, right? But those 3 guys in particular, I thought had very specific skill sets, very specific needs, in which we could have capitalized on them more and we would have been a much better team. And so JJ talked about how he wants to capitalize and just really maximize on players. Talked about how he believes Rui can be an elite offensive rebounder and just rebounder, period, right? Which tells me he's probably playing the 4 more. Because, again, you look at his numbers, when he plays the 3 compared to the 4, when Rui's playing the 4, he averages like 3 or 4 more rebounds a game because he's a 4. He's not necessarily a 3. I'm not saying you can't ever play him at the 3 because he shot 42% from three-point range. But it's not a coincidence that all of his best games this season were when he played the 4 because LeBron was out, right? So, again, it's understanding the players, understanding the pieces that you have. Obviously, JJ said he can't really get into that yet because he doesn't know what the roster is. He doesn't know what the actual breakdown is. But he even explained how teams are able to offensive rebound and how the game has changed, and he has that understanding of the game. Talked about, back when he played, you were either a guy that's crashing or a guy that's getting back. He said now you got a lot of corner guys that are crashing, which is something I've talked about heavily with Jared Vanderbilt, right? What have I broken down with Vando a lot? Is that him being that corner that can crash the glass, and the impacts that he can have in that regard are massive, right? You could have LeBron in the other corner. Whoever are in the corner should be crashing the glass, and you have your guards kind of get back, but it should be if let's say it's Anthony Davis, Vando, and LeBron, right? Those 3 guys should be crashing, and LeBron and Vando should be crashing from the corners, right? So it's not just Anthony Davis by himself going 5-on-1 to try to grab a rebound, right? Obviously, you need to get back. Obviously, you want to prevent transition points, but you got to find that balance. And JJ seems like he's willing to find that balance. But in general, I really enjoyed this press conference. I thought he did an excellent job, like genuinely. I was very impressed, right? Because you never know, right? You see the charisma, you see the comfortability with the media, you see all those things, but like, I loved the way that the way he answered it. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, I think we'll do this or what. No, it was very calculated. Like you can see the cogs turning in his mind, right? You could see how he's visioning things, right? Like I love that. It didn't seem like a salesman. It seemed like a guy that understands the assignment. Not a guy, it's a guy that understands what kind of car he has rather than a guy that's trying to sell this car as something else, right? Like, I really was impressed with JJ. But again, doesn't always translate to being a great head coach. I think JJ is going to be great. I think JJ is going to be fine. But you never really know, right? We have no evidence to point to and go, well, he was great here or he was terrible here, so therefore he's going to be great or terrible over here. Something to keep in mind. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts are? What did you think of JJ Redick's press conference? If you saw it, it was on the Los Angeles Lakers YouTube channel. You can watch it live. Obviously, you can go watch the playback. If you didn't watch it, go check it out. I think you'll really enjoy it if you're somebody that didn't see it. But again, how do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. It's me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.